Hey guys, welcome to the Christina Diaries, and this is a video that I wanted to make for the year of 2026 because we have launched. We are in the first week, and I am 54, and I do things alone. I am alone, and I have no friends at all. Well, that's not true. I have two friends, but I don't know. Sometimes I go around and I look for these videos every year because I think right around this time or right around the holidays, I kind of reflect and I look at my life and I go, you know, like there's spurts and waves that I go through of feeling alone or just feeling lonely, I think. And also I'll see like a movie, or you know how like they encourage you to like watch a lot of Hallmark, or you know, if you follow socials and stuff, then you know, like when you go on socials and the fall season comes and Christmas comes and you see all these like movies being promoted and all this, you know, family stuff being promoted, and you're kind of at a point in the Gen X generation where you're like, okay, you know what I mean? And you look around and you think, I don't know, you know, like I just realize I have no friends. I mean, I have a couple of friends I've made online, creators that I have that in common with. And I just thought I would sit down and make this video. Now it is January 7th, 2026 that I'm making this video. So I thought I better do this soon. I do still have a Christmas tree in my bedroom. I decided to film this in my bedroom, and I've been ill. I fell ill right after the holiday, like right sincerely after the holiday. And I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move around. And I just thought, well, you know what? Before I take it all down, let me just make this one last video as a montage of my cute little pink and gold tree I did for Christmas 2025 so I don't forget it. So anyway, welcome to my channel. This is the Christina Diaries, and this video is all about how I am 54, I have no friends, and I do things alone, and I am alone. So let's roll the intro and talk about it. Okay, you guys, so I wanted to just talk about this. So what stemmed me to talk about this is I found a video from a younger person that I see her videos. I think I discovered her channel just by, she was talking about like overspending and minimalism and all this kind of stuff. And I always wondered, like when I watched her videos here and there, how old she was. I didn't know. And I subscribed, and I just, you know, I'm a creator myself, so I didn't really have a lot of time to watch a lot of people's videos, especially through this holiday season. But it's weird. I've been ill for the last 4 or 5 days, and I've been stuck in bed. And this is the first day I actually got myself together. I put some makeup on. I figured, you know, let me film some stuff for my other channels. And I saw this. And so I go on YouTube and I look and see, what did I don't even know what I scrolled. I'll show you right here. But I scrolled like, I'm over 50 and no friends, I think, because I didn't even think it was a thing. I was like, is this a thing? You know what I mean? Like, do people really talk about like not having friends over 50? And when I was in a relationship, you know, a long while back, this person would always say, I don't know, don't you find it weird that you don't like have any friends or whatever? And I wouldn't say I don't have any friends. I mean, I would say, you know, I have a couple of creative friends that I made on the platform. But this is what made me make this video, and this is why I'm talking about it, is that what was very interesting and unique about the video that prompted me to make this video is that the woman, and I'll link her video below if you want to see what she was talking about, because I resonated with everything she said. And that's why, if I can tag her, I'm going to, just because I just was really, really like digging the way that she did her video. And I was like, wow, this is still a thing. People still talk about this. And I know that I've seen videos. I'm 30, I have no friends. I'm 20, I have no friends. I'm 40, I have no friends. And then I started wondering, I wonder if over 50, anybody else is like really feeling that, or, you know, thinking like about that. Because I feel like over 50 is an interesting time. That's how I feel like. I mean, I know there's no handbook with life and there's no handbook with age, right? When you reach the age you're reaching, it's the first time you've ever been here. So every year you turn a number, you've never been there before. So you don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you're entering into. You're just walking into this unknown, and you can feel your body changing. You can see your body changing, especially when you're over 50, girl. It is scary, okay? When you're over 50, because I remember, okay, when I was over 40, because I was feeling good. I was feeling very comfortable in my skin at 40. I have always battled obesity my whole life. I did some things in my early 40s that I was, exploring and trying to, Ozempic wasn't around at that time. So I explored other avenues of losing weight and stuff. And I did lose some weight, but I've always battled with my weight. So I always go up and down. And so I did some things, but I remember when 45 came around, I was like, man, 50 is not that far away, but I didn't stress just yet. You know what I mean? And I still really didn't have any friends. Because remember, I'm looking at these videos today in 2026, exploring and watching these different people talk about not having any friends, over 50 at this point. But the woman that stemmed me to make this video, or that inspired me to make this video, was only over 40. And so I was like, I wonder if there's anybody over 50 that's doing this, and I didn't know if it was a thing. And then all of a sudden I saw, not a lot of videos, but I saw a few. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this video, because I made these kinds of videos. I think this is my third attempt making a video like this. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to make this video. And here I am making this video. So I'm now 54. And I remember after 45, I wasn't too stressing about 50. And what's weird is I talk about this not on my lifestyle, whatever, channel, because I'm a small creator, girl. I've been here on this platform for about 15 years. I've been trying to grow. And I've had so many different channels. And, YouTube is something I stumbled upon. I fell in love with it. I learned I was a creative person. And so it was embracing at first. I will say this, and I'm not going to digress, because just hang on with me. Hang tight for a second. I'm ADHD, so just give me a second. But I remember when I turned 45, and I was exploring the land of social media and discovering YouTube and Facebook. And I never was big on Instagram, and I don't think TikTok was a thing yet. But I discovered social media first when I turned 40, when I started exploring some weight loss options. And then 45 came around and I was already, kind of on the platforms. I had quit and started over and quit and started over and quit and started over. And this is where I learned patterns and, things I was doing over and over, and blaming things and not looking in the mirror and trying to figure out what I was doing right or wrong or whatever, especially when it came to socials, because nowadays it's so different. But I remember 45 came around and I started watching people, and I didn't know because there were so many people that I was watching that were relatable, that seemed like their worlds were similar to mine, meaning that, they had a partner or they were in a relationship. They either had young adult kids, or maybe they had a small group of friends, very small, 2 or 3 friends that they would talk about or whatever, that I would watch, right? But they didn't really talk about what it was like to not really have a lot of friends and focus on it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So if I lost my train of thought, just stay with me, okay? Because I do that sometimes. But what I'm saying is, once 45 came around, right, I was like, I'm telling you, girl, I don't ever notice that I don't have friends, because when I go places, even by myself, because I'm always by myself, I do everything by myself. I've chosen to be single as a choice. It's not like I feel like I can't get anybody else. I was a caregiver as well for a very long time. My father had Alzheimer's. So very early on, when we discovered he was having health issues and stuff, I was in my mid to late 30s, and that carried through until my early to mid 40s. And so when I first after that part of my life was done in 2018, that's when I really started to feel like I started to learn that I was good at taking care of other people, but I wasn't good at taking care of myself. And I remember that I would use the excuse at the time when I was taking care of my dad that I couldn't be a friend because I just couldn't give the other person that wanted to be friends with me the energy, because it was a lot like a friendship, you know, I mean, like a marriage, like a, you know, like a relationship, you know, to be, you know, they say, I said this in a comment to the video I talked to you guys about when I opened the video, is I said in the comments, you know, they always say to be a friend, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And so I remember going through friendships in my early 20s, early 30s, thinking that friendships were exhausting. Like they were never a give and take. They were always me giving more or me surrendering to personalities I would make friends with. And so it became exhausting to me. It was just too much. I couldn't handle being in a relationship and having girlfriends as well. So I feel like being a caregiver and that absorbing my life was easier to deal with than to try to maintain relationships. But at the same time, while I was caregiving and while I discovered social media, I was still making videos about different things. Because remember, I told you guys in the beginning of this video as well that I would stop and start channels. And so as I would go through the different genres of the social media, I never felt alone because I would start channels in different categories or genres where they would be received really well. And then also I would end up watching people and communicating with people. And because at the time I was having relationship challenges, I would reach out to these creators that would say, feel free to email me, or, you know, if you ever want to share your story or something of that nature. And so with this one creator at the time, I reached out to her and sent her an email and we became friends. And I don't know how many people she became friends with as well like that, but she became, in my opinion, a very close friend. And so I never really felt like I couldn't make friends, if that makes sense. And then when in physical life, you know, in real life, not the virtual life, in real life, when I would go to stores, when I would do things, my sister and I share the same kind of energy. We're very uplifting and bubbly. And when we go out, we're very personable. You know, we smile, we communicate, we talk, we make a conversation very easy and relaxed. So I feel like when we encounter people, they just feel comfortable, you know? And so whenever I've gone out, I've always been approachable. I've always been easy to talk to. And so everywhere I go, someone ends up talking to me. So I never felt like me not having friends, like it was me, like I had no social skills, or I wasn't personable, or I wasn't approachable, or anything like that. I just felt like caregiving had taken such a toll out of me. By 2018, I just didn't, I mean, and this, it wasn't just then. It wasn't just then, because I think I was over 45. I think when my dad passed, I think I was 46, I believe. I might have been a little bit older than that. But when I was taking care of my dad, I remember I didn't really have any girlfriends. I mean, you know, I had people I would communicate with, but I didn't really have a lot of I didn't really have any girlfriends, to be honest. I was trying to be in a relationship, and I was taking care of my dad, and then I had my adult kids, and I had always had a lot of kids in my life at that time. And so my life was just busy and full of people, so I never felt alone. And then I started having relationship challenges, and then I also had social media, which always was a good way of meeting people, or I don't know, communication, I guess, and always had a good response with that. So I knew there were outlets of me to feel like I could communicate with other people, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I never felt like I was completely alone until 2018, when my dad passed away and I moved in by myself. I think I was 48 at the time. I had broken up in my relationship, so I wasn't in a relationship at that time. And that's when I started discovering these isolated over 40 like talking vloggers. Like they would sit in front of a camera and they would talk to you like I'm talking to you now. And there was one creator that I found that is still vlogging till this day. He actually just made an anniversary vlog, and I'll link it below. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll link it below because it was in my feed. And he said 10 years I've been vlogging. And I started watching him, and there was just something about him that was very like resonating. You know what I mean? Like I just absolutely, I don't know. I just felt very like, maybe it's because we're only 1 year apart, and he like was very similar in the way that he spoke or something. I don't know. I feel like that happens when we like when we discover people that are our own age or grew up in the same era, you know, as us Gen Xers. And so I started watching him, and then my son introduced me to something called parasocial something, where you watch somebody and you feel like you know them because you've been watching their videos or something, excuse me. But I never felt weird about it. I was just like, man, everything he's talking about, I resonate with, like, this is cool. And then that inspired me to make this channel that you're watching right now. And I had another channel just like this over the years, because I've stopped and started this type of channel 4 or 5 times, and it's had a different name every time I've done it. And so I've made a video. I have no friends at 40. I think the last video I made was I have no friends at 49 and no friends or something, or 48. I don't remember, girl. But now here I am, 54, making this video again. And so it's very interesting, the cycles and different things different stages you go through in life, because every number you hit, you've never been there before. So you don't know how you're going to see or reflect back on who you are at this moment versus, and how comfortable are you in your own space, in your own skin, in your own everything. And so when I look around and I watch people on YouTube, especially when I discovered there were people over 50 making videos like this, but it was interesting that a lot of the videos that were being shared with me in the feed, of the search, were my specific age, which doesn't happen very often. And I thought, God, there's a lot of 54-year-olds saying I'm 54 and I had no friends. And it was kind of it was a mix, of male and female. And so when I discovered socials, like I said, I felt like as long as I could be creative and as long as I could share videos, and make videos and whatever I was interested in, that's where I would find my community. Okay, that's where I would find my community. And so I think I made a channel back in 2016, I believe. That was like a relationship type of channel, which I didn't want to do that, but I did it. And I made this one video, and all of a sudden, I think I got like 300 comments. I got like 25,000 views or something on that video. And I was like, wow. And so I never felt like I wasn't relatable. Okay. And I think it made me feel encouraged, but scared at the same time, because I didn't know if that's really what I wanted to do. And I didn't know if I really wanted to launch that specific topic of of style or whatever, of a channel on social media like that. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but what I mean is when I did that, I still felt like I'm not alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at this. Like, there's people all over everywhere that would just relate to me. I'm just like them or whatever. So with that channel, I ended up getting rid of that channel. And then I started a shopping channel. And that's when I started to feel lonely, I think. And I don't know why. I feel like when I started focusing in on shopping and sharing things I was interested in and sharing shopping and things I was buying and whatever, I would make these videos. And this is still happening to me till this day. That's why I'm making this video. But I found social media. I really found comfort in it, and when I started making the shopping channel in 2016, at first when I made my first 4 or 5 videos, I was getting over 1,000 views and a lot of comments. And then suddenly after that, I don't know why, but I was falling flat. So less people would watch, less people would engage, less people would comment. And I thought to myself, well, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? Like, do people just think I'm weird, or do they think I'm unattractive, or do they think I'm too fat, or do they think I'm too old, or do they think just what I'm choosing in the store is dumb, or whatever, right? That's how I was thinking. So this is where I came up with the theory of starting over, like deleting a channel and starting it over, and deleting a channel and starting it over, because I kept thinking it was me. Do you know what I mean? And that is what made me look at my outside life about like it was boiling over into my realistic life, like looking into my life going, wait a minute, I don't really have any friends. So is this not just like, are people just not watching, not commenting, not liking my videos because I'm just not a likable person? You know, is it that they don't get my humor? Is it that I'm being rude? Is it that, I have a tone they don't understand? Am I being rigid? Am I being sarcastic? Am I being misunderstood? You know what I mean? And then I started to take that personal in my real life, and it's so strange. And I'm bringing all of this up because it really is relevant to the video of I'm 54 and I have no friends. I do things alone and I am alone. And it's true. The difference I feel like I'm trying to make is that alone is a broad scope of definition. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I really feel like there's a fine line between being alone and feeling lonely. It's like, if you're the kind of person that if you're the kind of person like me that never gets bored, but you hear people that say that they get bored, and then you're like, well, what does that really feel like, being bored? Do you know what I mean? Because I don't. I just always keep my mind busy. I always keep myself busy, and I never get bored. But I do change my mind a lot. I don't know if that's, related at all, but I do know that that's part of, like, how I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do change my mind a lot. I do change interests a lot. I don't know if that's ADHD or what, but I know that I've learned at this point, and in my skin right now at 54 in January of 2026, and I have no friends and I am alone, but I don't know if that's really true, is what I'm trying to say. Do you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of what we do in life is by choice, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people just don't have friends because they don't, I don't think this is just my own opinion. So if I'm wrong, please, leave comments and let me know. But I feel like a lot of people feel like friendships are a lot like marriage. They really are, because you only get what you give. It's an effort. It's time, just like when you're dating. It's investment, it's lending an emotional part of yourself that you have to keep available as the other person is for you. If that's, hopefully you're meeting people that are like-minded, that are very similar to yourself, because obviously if you're meeting people that don't really blend with who you are or don't bring a balance to who you are, then that can make a lot of difference of if you have friends or not. But it stands true that to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And I feel like being 54 and being alone, I mean, I get in my own way, I feel like, is what I'm trying to say, because I have made some friends over the last 4 years of being on YouTube. And when I first made friends with these two girls that I'm talking about, these two women that are wonderful, they did nothing but embrace me. They said, oh, you need to come and see us, and you need to come down and you can stay with us. And, I totally trusted them because my other history of being online was never negative. Like, any encounter I had with other creators or other people that were online affiliated was never anything scary. It wasn't like the weirdness that we have today. I don't feel like I ever saw it like that. It wasn't my experience. Any online relationships that I had made or built were built on realistic gut feeling, authenticity, all that good stuff. So I haven't lost faith in online relationships. I really haven't. I know we live in a different time now, and it is quite dangerous, so you need to be careful who you trust and so forth. But I remember, though, too, when they first said, oh, come and see us and you can stay with us. And I think my immediate thought was, I was a little bit afraid that I wouldn't have a part of me that they would need. Like, I don't know, maybe it was disappointment, probably, that I was fearful of, is being a disappointment, because I know that now in my life at 54, I don't have as much to share and give of myself as I did when I was 40. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still am a yes person. I know that. I still will, because I like helping people. Catering is in my blood. Caregiving is it's just who I am. But I feel like with age, I feel like I've learned to put boundaries there. You know what I mean? Like, I am very firm in that, in terms of, like, building boundaries of what I will do and what I won't do. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. But I will say that I do put it off, or I try to get around, you know what I mean? Like, I'll maintain the the text relationships, I'll maintain the phone conversations, FaceTime conversations I've had with my girlfriends now that I do have online, but I've never met them. And let me share something interesting with you, okay, about being 54 and having no friends and being alone and doing things alone. A friend of mine that's a big creator here on YouTube said, you know what, we talked, and I don't know if this is going to stand true because, you know, things happen, but we were talking and she was making her calendar for 2026. And I don't know if she asked me what I was doing in March. I don't know. I don't remember. If she sees this video, she'll be like, this is why, whatever. But she said, what are you doing in March? And I don't remember what I said. I said, I don't know. And she said, well, we're coming to see you, or we're coming to meet you, or something like that. And I immediately just froze up inside. Of course, I didn't say anything negative outside, or, you know, she just said, I think what happens is that people get, like, I feel like, I know I put it off, you know, and I said I was going to go see them, and I said I was going to drive down, and it's not that far to drive down. But she like shook me a little bit because I was like, what do you mean you're going down here? Do you know what I mean? And so listening to this video that I opened the video with, and why I'm saying all this to you is because I could relate to this lady so much, because she said, I think she said, I'm 40 something, I have no friends, but I don't know if I want friends. And I don't know, I've had that. It's so interesting to hear a younger person say that, because I've had that attitude for a long time. And it's not that I don't love having friends. It's not like I don't love having people in my life, but I feel like sometimes, like I said, you have to be a friend to have a friend. And sometimes I feel like, I mean, obviously people your own age, people, you know, that resonate with you will understand where you're coming from. But friendship is just that. It's a 50-50, very much emotional relationship, you know, bond that it's a give and take, you know, and it's a lot of effort and a lot of making it work, and and communicating and learning to know each other and be comfortable with each other, and, you know, get acceptance. It's, you know, it's like having, I don't know, it's like having a relationship is what I'm saying. So I feel like when people say I'm this age and I have no friends, I feel like it's more of, I feel like when you're young, I feel like you take it personal and you think it's you, but I feel like there's always an underlying reason of why you don't have what you're saying you don't have. Does that make sense? I feel like there's always a lot of self-reflection that comes in each stage of your life, you know, as you examine, you know, and it's interesting because, like, okay, so I asked myself, right, I'm 54, not in a relationship. I will tell you, I'm terrified to be in a relationship. It's because, and I make all these excuses of why I'm not, you know, like, I'm too heavy, I look old now, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't, I have health issues, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I have anything to give anybody. I have this large fear of, if I was to date or be in a relationship, would that person understand that my priorities are with my family, my children, you know, my mom, because I'm her only daughter. Will that person understand that? So I don't feel like, I saw another man who I think made a video. I feel like he was like 56 or something. I'll leave his video below as well, but I didn't watch his whole video. I just watched kind of his opening, and he was talking about, you know, that a lot of the choices we make at this juncture in our life is just that, choices, you know, and that, you know, if we're choosing to ride life solo or whatever the case may be, it's mostly because we choose it to be that way. You know, I mean, when you reach this stage of your life, most of us, not all of us, but most of us have had a long-term relationship or some kind of serious relationship. Most of us have experienced, you know, love in some way. Most of us have been a parent, you know, have parented or been a parent. Most of us have possibly experienced divorce or loss or whatever, you know. And so we've all life has shown us a lot of ways to appreciate. It's taught us lessons. You get this thing in life, I feel like over 50, where you earn your stripes, you gain your right to decide and give yourself permission to be no frills. That's why you hear a lot of people say, well, at this age, I don't put up with any bullshit. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to let this person walk all over me. I get to do what I want, say what I want, eat what I want. And so I stumble across a lot of this on Instagram as well. A lot of these women are on here, people, they call themselves educators. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people like saying, what they feel is, it's just funny. It's like we're all walking into age blindly with no handbook, trying to figure out what the hell, how we get here, how are we going to, go through the rest of it. How are we going to rediscover ourselves, to stay happy or to stay content or to stay energetic and excited and inspired, you know what I mean? And then we have all this social media that, like, you have all these people that are wanting to be teachers or wanting to share their wisdom or what have you, when everybody's journey is isolated and different. No one walks in the same shoes. No one. People can relate to what you go through, but they don't know specifically your journey because no one's you, just you live your own journey. And so I go through this all the time. Like, I see this stuff on Instagram all the time. Like, all these people trying to like school people. And I'm like, I understand what people are saying and I understand what they're trying to teach, but like their view and through their lens is just that, through their lens. And everybody has a right to their opinion. Everybody has a right to everybody has a right to experience life, the way that they have experienced it, because that's what happens, right? With age and with life, we go through experiences, and that's what teaches us wisdom and teaches us experience and maturity. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, it just cracks me up. Like, every time I see these videos of all these people, and I don't think at this juncture, over 50, being alone, doing things alone, having no friends, I don't think it could be, because there are bad people, there are evil people, there is bad, energy and karma, and there's all these things, that can like cause people to not have friends or not have a circle of people that they deal with or whatever. But, most of us have, like I said, most of us that have had relationships, possibly may still have relationships with our exes or, people, some of us have grown children, adults, or stepkids or you know what I mean? Like all of that helped raise them or whatever, where we still have some communication. Some of us still take care of our elderly parents, which become a big part of our lives over 50. We may have friends over time that have developed health issues or what have you, which may take them into the direction of their personal space with their families and people that are caring for them, and they can't really participate in a full-on relationship because of their health issues or what have you, or maybe they're married or whatever the case is, because like I said, everybody lives an isolated journey. Like, all we can do is like share our experience and our lenses of maturity. That's all we can do, because nobody walks through our shoes but us. It's like, obviously there's certain things that are going to be universal, of course, loss, broken hearts, love, parenting. Like I said, we all go through our relatable stuff, but it just cracks me up that every time I open up my Instagram, it's all these people trying to teach life. I'm like, but that's just me, you know what I mean? So being 54 and being alone and doing things alone, and it doesn't necessarily bother me, because like I said, I feel like even with YouTube and, being on the platform for 15 years, I still struggle, because I do wonder, is it me? Like, because I make videos, I've started a million channels, but I get 15 views, 20 views, right? I don't ever get any comments, which very much makes me wonder if it's me. You know what I mean? Like, is my presence online off-putting? Is it my tone? Do you know what I mean? Is it my physical appearance? Is it my weight? Is it my perspective? Is it my sense of humor? Am I boring? Am I uninteresting? And then we have these online tools as creators that we run where they analyze our videos and they tell us all about how terrible our videos are. I get no likes on my videos at all. So no engagement online, which is hard, because I'm like, man. And then, that how social media has shifted and changed the way that we see ourselves, especially aging, the middle-aged or aging, us Gen Xers and stuff. Because I know social media is always like screaming and calling us out, that social media in all aspects needs more Gen Xers. But it's like sometimes, it doesn't happen for all of us. On the presence online doesn't happen the same. That's why I said it's an individual journey all the way around, right? Even online, you know what I mean? Because I could start a channel. My friend that could be my same age could start a channel, and she or he may blow up and I may not get anything, or vice versa, which is what I go through all the time. Do you know what I mean? But I think one of the reasons why I feel like I continually stay inspired, because even my son, my 36-year-old son, asks me, he said, Mom, you've been doing YouTube for 15 years. Not all the, like, I don't call myself like any kind of coach or anything crazy like that. But I've shared advice and courses and things that I've taken to share with other people, of what I've learned or whatever, like if I paid for something and I meet creative friends along the way, I've shared pieces of information, with them that I felt like would be really cool, and it helped them and they blossomed, or I recommended that they start another platform or another outlet of income, and another journey, another venture on another platform, and they end up blowing up or whatever. And they'll come back to me and say, wow, thank you so much. I wouldn't have done it like if you didn't help me or suggest, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that hasn't, you know what I mean? Like, I just shared something I learned and hope that it would help you, you know what I mean? And I'm so happy for you, because I'm not the kind of person that is like, I don't know, I'm just not negative. Another thing too, interesting as well, that you find as well, that brings you validation when you come around and you start analyzing, your life, and if you're alone and if you don't have any friends and all that kind of stuff. I feel like there's another thing that also really like kind of brings you peace as well, is I remember when I started to get to know one of my creator friends here, she said, I don't think it was this year. I think it was a couple years ago, or maybe last year. And I heard her husband say something in the background on the phone and say, because he would ask her, who are you talking to? And she would say, oh, it's blah, 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 and he would say, or at least she shared with me, he said, she never asked for anything. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I have made so many friends online that I've met in person over the years. I'm not talking about now, but over the years. I remember I had a friend in the weight loss community early on when I started social media, and she reached out to me and she said, hey, I'm going to have some surgery and I'm going to be like in your neck of the woods or near your neck of the woods. And I was wondering if you could, come and help or whatever. And I said, yeah, of course. So I just went and I helped and I knocked on the door, and it was our first time meeting. I actually helped her I helped her and her mom, and she was like, I can't believe you, like, they were just astounded. They were like, wow, and I was every bit of what I said I was, because I am who you see on the camera. And so that is why I never really lost faith on online relationships or making friends online, because I'm very organic in that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've ever met anybody that's been fake or didn't, you know what I mean? Or didn't appear who they were online, you know what I mean? Online, in person kind of thing. But it's funny, like when you try to incorporate social media into your personal life, and you go on this kind of venture, and, I started this whole thing, probably as early as 2010, 2009, somewhere around there. And I've seen social media change over time, and each run that I've done in each genre that I've tried has been a different experience. How they say every platform is different, and I would say that it's always a hit and miss. Like 2022, I started over in social media again, and I had a lot more like better run than I had when I started my new channels in 2025. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I made this video, because when I started looking up these videos, I'm over 50, no friends, doing things alone. And then I saw this one girl that I talked about, that I've keep bringing up, because that's the focus of me making the video, is I could just really resonate with what she was saying, because she kept saying, I think she said I'm over 40 and have no friends, or maybe she said I'm 40 and I have something like that. But she said, and I don't know if I want them. And then she went into like how she like had the opportunity and the gesture of having friends and outings and invitations to do things. And then she would find herself making excuses, or, like not putting a lot of effort into making it happen, as far as like continuing the friendship, keeping the friendship together or whatever. And it's not that they're not friends or they don't text or they don't call here and there. It's like that, but I'm saying her personal effort, to make a physical friendship was just kind of, she just found herself like really not into it. And so I feel like when you're over 50 though, I feel like, because she's 40, so that's a big difference, right? 14 years is a big difference. So, but if I had to, if I had to measure it out, like when I made this video at 49, and then now I'm making it at 54, I still feel like I'm, for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with not having friends, but there are times when I wish I could just pick up the phone and, have lunch with somebody or go decor shopping. But then again, at the same time, since I was a caregiver for 15 years and most of my time was always like taken, and my focus and energy was always into somebody else, I feel like I'm very stubborn and selfish with my time. And I don't think that's rare. I think anybody that's over 50, maybe your kids are grown, maybe you're in a relationship, not in a relationship, divorced, separated, single, whatever it is. But I feel like when you get over 50, I feel like you really, because there's a lot of people that are retired that had a long career, and then now, they're in retirement and they're finding their way through retirement. I see channels like that. But as far as feeling lonely, I feel like that comes and goes in waves. But here's what I want to tell you that I'm very afraid of. And it's like, I feel, not you personally, but I'm saying the figurative of speech, you. It's like you look at your life and you think, I'm content. I'm comfortable with who I am. I've lived my life. I've raised kids. I've been married. You know what I mean? I can say that. I never got married twice or anything, but I had a second relationship, it was dating. Anyway, I'll say I'm dating because I'm still evaluating that girl. But he says it's a relationship. I don't think it was a relationship, but whatever. But what I'm saying is it's not like I didn't have any kind of interaction with another man since my ex-husband, because I was a teen mom, which was also another experience. And with that, I just want to say that I think the thing that really starts to show up, if you will, or make its way into your thought process is, you're getting older, and when you don't have friends or you don't have a lot of impact on your environment or the people around you, you wonder what it will be like if something happens to you. And that's where I think recently, because I have a lot of people around me that talk about death, and I don't like that. It's not that it's not a reality. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's not that illness can't happen. It's not that things can't go wrong or that you can't inherit, ailments and medical, because even I have my own medical, stuff. But I feel like, and it's not even that I don't have, what's really interesting in my opinion of, evaluating this stuff and thinking about it, especially now that it's the first week of 2026, is that I don't even think about not having a partner. Isn't that strange? Like sometimes I do, but not all the time. The majority of the time I don't. But what I do think about a lot is that if something was to happen to me, would anybody come around and say that that I had any kind of impact on their life? Because I didn't have any friends. Because it's been a long time that I've been in a social environment or in a working environment or in a multiple individual person environment. I'm not involved in charities or special hobbies or clubs or, I haven't really manifested a community or presence online either. And I don't have, like I said, a lot of personal things happening in my life where multiple people would like show up or something. Like all I really have is my 2 kids, my mom, a couple of, online friends, my sister, of course, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't know why that really has been on my mind lately. It's really been on my mind. So it's not so much that I'm 54. It's not so much that I have no friends. It's not so much that I'm alone or I do things alone. Because, girl, sometimes when I wake up, I do wish I had a man to bring me some damn coffee, okay? I do wish I had that. I wish I had a man around me that had my sense of humor, that was funny and giddy and weird and cool, and like grew up around the same time as me, and we could reflect and have funny moments, and just thing that would inside jokes that kids today wouldn't understand. Of course I miss all that, but I think because I have so many people around me that focus on death, it's made me wonder and think, if something happened to me, would anybody even care? Would anybody even notice? And I think that is the thing that scares me the most. And I guess it shouldn't matter, right? Because when it's all done, it's done. But it's not like I can sit now in front of this camera and tell you I've had a full life. I've been here, I've been there, I've had this long career, I've da-da-da-da-da. No, I don't have all that. I was a mom at 16. I was married by 17. I raised 2 kids. That were good. No trouble, no jail, no, good upstanding citizens. I took care of my father, from the time that he became ill in 2008 to the time that he passed away in 2018. I have 6 siblings, five half siblings. I was involved in their lives up until my father passed. I have 3 older siblings and 3 younger siblings. That's what makes the 6. I guess I am 7. I don't know. Well, one was a stepchild of my father. But we always just considered her, a biological child. But I was the only child from my mom and dad. That's why I feel like there's this isolation thing, happening when I think about this stuff. And so when it comes to not having friends, I don't know, because and then when I don't have this, I don't know if I'm making any sense to anybody out there, but I hope I am, because I discovered, social media way back when, and it was fun at first, and then somewhere in the middle, I lost my way. And then now here we are, years later, and I have such a hard time building community on socials. And it really makes me wonder if it's me. Do you know what I mean? And then that makes me look inside my life and wonder, God, I don't even have any friends. You know what I mean? And it's not like my friends don't like to talk to me or whatever, the couple friends I have from online. And it's not like, that I've never been invited to visit or meet. You know what I mean? It's not like But what's also interesting about having online friends as well is we really don't have a lot of conversation. They really never made a lot of effort to get to really know who I am. But in return, I never really made a lot of effort to get to know and who they are. So I feel like you get what you give kind of thing too, which also brings me back to the video that motivated me to make this video. And that's why I said that, because that's why I resonated so much with this woman, because she was, and that, I used to have a book when I was young called Get Out of Your Own Way, I think it was called. I'll show it to you right here or here, whatever. But I remember reading this book because I always had trouble making friends, even as a child. And it wasn't because I wasn't likable. It wasn't because I wasn't funny. It wasn't because I wasn't fun to be around, It wasn't because, but I remember though, in my adult life or growing up, once I got married, that I was in this relationship, and it makes you wonder when you look back at your relationships, what kind of partners you choose, and is that the reason why you didn't have any friends? Do you know what I mean? Because when I was young, and I first got married, I did have a really close friend, and I met her through my husband's brother, and we were friends for a while, and then we fell off. And that's what made me start to wonder, that's what made me discover that friendship is a lot of work. It's just because it's exhausting. I felt like I was exhausted with her all the time. She was really sweet. I loved her to death, but she was a lot of work in my opinion, and it was just a lot for me. And so I've never really found that girlfriend that was the yin to my yang. I've never really found that the way you find it in, relationships. So in, romantic relationships, I've never found that. And I haven't even found that in romantic relationships either. I really haven't. I only found that one time in my life, and it was partially with my young husband, but also with another person that came into my life right around my late 20s. And we just had this personality click that we had, so he was fun. But that did never come of anything. But now that I'm 54 and I listened to this person's video and I wanted to sit and talk with you about this, I don't know. I mean, I'm still on the fence. Like, I think the only thing that really scares me about being alone, doing things alone, not having a significant other, because there are times, you know, like, even when I talk to my ex, there are times when he'll come and visit me. You know, he lives out of town, so he'll come and visit me, and he'll occasionally spend the night or whatever. And even though we're around each other and stuff, because we are so opposite. We are really opposite people. We've known each other over 20 years. We have a really close relationship. We care about each other, but we are very opposite. We don't have the same humor. We don't have the same interest in food. We don't have the same interest in likeness, like what we're interested, you know, just hobbies, things we enjoy together. We just don't. So there was never that harmony, that chemistry in terms of really having fun together. There just wasn't that. I've had it in my life, but not with him. And so when he comes to visit though, and, you know, here and there and spends a night or whatever, you know, just platonically, it's like, I wonder if it's just because we're not compatible that I don't really see that I have room in my life for a partner, and I prefer to stay single because I am selfish with my time. Like, I don't want this one lady on Instagram said, you know, one of the reasons why she chooses to be alone or whatever is because she doesn't have to worry about, you know, kind of intermingling her life with someone else's, like meaning the balance, you know, what are we eating for dinner? Where are we going? You know, having that energy where you have to share all the time, you know, everything. You have to share your entire life experience with somebody else. And she was just happy that she could do that alone. And I feel that way, but not because I wouldn't enjoy a relationship. It's because I was just a caregiver for so long. And so I'm very, very, you know, selfish with my time. And I can also remember attempting to go on dating websites and stuff like that. And then also, you know, having other men sporadically either tell me I don't look like my picture. Like, as if I was just some kind of disappointment. You know, they would talk to me on the phone, they would say these mean things, and then they would turn around and I would go home, cry, whatever it was because they hurt my feelings so bad, and then get a call or a text, you know, a week later saying, I'm sorry, whatever. You know, I've rethought it. I've like taken some time. I never understood that part. But also, I don't know if I would have, I mean, I can resonate with what the woman said about like not wanting to ask somebody, hey, what are we having for dinner? Or, you know, what, like feeling pressured, like if someone's an early bird and you're a night owl, you know, they go to bed and they're waiting for you to come to bed, or, you know, you always have to meet halfway. Like, I just don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I even have the interest to do that because I'm so spoiled with my own time, doing my own damn thing. You know what I mean? And I don't have to worry about anybody else. But there are times of when I miss that closeness, you know, of just having that, I don't know, that kind of relationship, which I think is completely normal and human. But I don't know. I just feel like at this rate, I feel like I said, I don't know. I feel like everything's a choice. And I feel like there's still, I feel like you don't ever, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like even at this age, I don't think you really have to ever think that it's not possible or that you've run out of time for some reason, you know? Like I said, I feel like everything's a choice. I don't think it matters how old you are. I think you get to choose if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to have close friends, if you want to have a dating life, if you want to share your life with somebody, if you want to, you know, I think it's just up to you, you know, but I do know that there are factors that roll into that. And when you do start considering those things, even if you're dating over 50 or anything like that, I feel like you also have to, you know, and I think most people your age will understand, like, you know, because all of us have aging parents as well. And it's our turn to take care of them and all that stuff. And sometimes that can be an overwhelming job, you know, a lot of investment in time and energy. And not all of us have long-term care plans and where we can hire nurses and all that good stuff, right? You know, or whatever. So sometimes your parents actually have to come back into your space and you have to take care of them. So you have to have a partner that's very understanding and empathetic to those types of things. Or if you end up, you know, dating somebody that might also have health issues as well, because you enter that stage over 50 where those things become a factor to consider. You know, and I'm not saying that you would just say no because you may have your own ailments. You know, some people have diabetes, some people have heart issues, some people have gone through health scares. You know, I mean, some people have maintenance, you know, conditions at this point in their life and all that good stuff. But at the same time, I think it all just boils down to a choice. And I think you have to find, you know, some kind of peace and harmony within whatever choices you make, you know? And I don't know, I just feel like maybe, I think it just depends on your personality as well. Because there's very rare moments and mornings or anything that make me feel like, man, I am alone. I have no one. You know what I mean? Like, my phone's not going to ring, or I don't have anybody to call, or there's no way to have lunch with someone that I love or, you know, care about or anything like that. I don't ever think about that, not ever. So I feel like over 50, especially at 54, I don't know. I just think, you know, you find a way to navigate life to your own, you are your own pilot, you know, you create your own direction, your own path, your own destination layovers, you know what I mean? And you find joy, you know, and you find harmony wherever that may be. So I don't think I'm not saying that people don't get lonely. I'm not saying that there aren't people and individuals out there that need to be in a relationship, because there are people that are they need to be with someone. Do you know what I mean? They need that in their life. They need to be, and they do say, I guess studies say as well that, you know, people that are in relationships live longer and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if I believe that, because I feel like life, like I said, like you could be single and not be in a relationship, but also have grown adult kids, have like grandchildren, have like all these different things that keep your life busy and full of, you know, satisfaction and contentment, even though you go to bed at night alone and you get up alone, you know, and you may even have coffee alone or eat dinner alone, but it doesn't mean your phone doesn't ring. It doesn't mean that you don't have family interaction every day. You know, it doesn't mean, or 2-3 times a week or whatever that case may, you know, is. I know with my family, closeness has always been a thing. You know, I don't know, call us into codependent, whatever, but I feel like that is our sanctuary. You know, our constant communication, our constant tie and closeness together is what keeps us comfortable and what keeps us safe and what keeps us content. And I think I've taught that to my children, you know, but I do think that as well as you age, that I feel like sometimes though you can get a little bit too selfish. Like, you know, my children are in their 30s and I feel like I've taught them to be so strong that I feel like sometimes that might be a strength and a weakness in their relationships. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that the way that I raised them to be independent or to be self-sufficient, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, to just be okay with whatever is happening in their lives, that I feel like sometimes when they're in relationships, they don't know how to balance that compromise. I feel like that was one of the things that I wish I would have taught my kids more of. And I feel like if I would have been in a relationship while I was raising them, like, you know, got married again or whatever, I feel like that would have helped them, you know, because I feel like both of them, it's like they're lonely and they need to be in a relationship, I feel like, but at the same time they're leery, you know, now because they're learning life and they're learning that not every relationship is guaranteed and that, you know, every partner isn't. But I mean, I tell them that all the time, you know, you can be in a relationship, you can get married and still get divorced, you can get, you know, you can meet somebody and call them the love of your life, and maybe that might not work out, you don't know, but you still want to, you know, remain positive about that, right? You want to keep yourself in a good space, you know, you want to have the hope and the faith, and, you know, that love keeps your relationship alive no matter what, you know, and that every experience is not a wasted run, you know, it's not wasted time, it's lessons learned, you know, it's experience and maturity. You know what I mean? Like, I try to teach my kids that relationships are experience and maturity. They teach you maturity. They teach you lessons on how to become a better version of yourself, you know, a better human being, a better partner, a better friend, a better whatever it is that you need to be, so that the next encounter you have is more promising. Do you know what I mean? But you can't take on the burden that everything lasts forever, because sometimes people change their minds. Sometimes things happen that are out of your control, and you can't blame yourself, right? So with all that said, I just felt like I needed to talk about being in your 50s and what that looks like with not having friends and not being in a relationship, doing things alone, being alone. And it's not, I don't feel like there's, I don't know, I just feel like it's all in the way that you look at it. It's all in the way that you perceive and the way that you experience it, you know, and just, I just want to say this as a 54-year-old person, Gen X person, is that you can always change. You can always change. Like, you can always change where you are in life. You can always change that. I mean, if you find yourself uncomfortable or unhappy in your, you know, being alone or whatever, then you can change that. You can meet someone. They always say slim pickings, there's no one out there. I don't believe in all that. I really don't. I really think that we all go through the same thing. We all go through the same ups and downs and waves in life. And I feel like out there somewhere is someone feeling exactly the way you're feeling. And putting yourself out there is just giving yourself an opportunity to meet someone that is in the same space as you and is looking to find what you're, you know, and is looking to, you know, fit somewhere just like you are, you know. And it doesn't matter that you've had a lifetime full of experience. It doesn't matter that you've been married over and over. It doesn't matter that you have grown kids. It doesn't matter all of that. Some of us are just tired, damn it. Some of us are just damn tired and just done, you know, and that's up to us. But what I'm saying is there are some people that go through age in life that just can't handle being alone, you know. But I feel like that's all in choice. You know what I mean? If you're solely alone, you have no communication with your family, you have no friends, that, you know, you haven't made any effort at your job, you're not getting involved with projects, you're not going to gatherings, you're not making an effort, you're not looking into hobbies, you're not, you know, looking to fulfill your life in some way with hobbies or interests or going out there and exploring things. I think that is a choice. It's all a choice. You know, I don't know. I don't believe that being alone or doing things alone or ending up alone is literally a detriment. I don't believe that. And I don't know, maybe it's the optimistic me. Maybe it's, you know what I mean? Maybe it's the way that I want to see life. Maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's my energy I wear. Because every time I go somewhere, girl, I talk to somebody. Someone always finds me, and always the seniors, always. I'm not a senior just yet, but always the seniors find me. And I always talk to the cashiers. I smile, I say hello, I open doors, I close doors. Do you know what I mean? And I always have a good energy every time I go out. Except for I had one bad experience at Walmart that changed my entire perception of the world. But we live in another time now. We live in a different time than than Generation X. We really do. So that taught me a lesson. But I just thought that I would share my thoughts on being 54, being alone, having no friends, and doing things alone. And I hope that I said something that made sense to you, that, you know, resonated with you in some way. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are my age, if you are going through, if you're single, you know, if you're living alone, if you're divorced, or you're just learning to, you know, move on in life now that your kids are grown up, and, you know, maybe your relationship is no longer, or maybe you're not dating, or maybe you've tried to date, or maybe you're over dating or whatever. I would love to hear your thoughts about where you are in your 50s and being alone. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I do struggle with it sometimes, but overall, I think I'm pretty okay. I mean, I don't know. I think about relationships once in a while. I have a couple of friends, and I could manifest that and bring growth to that if I really want to. So I don't feel like I'm antisocial, and I don't feel like I don't have any social skills, and I don't feel like I'm unlikable in that way, like that I'm not approachable, that I'm not friendly enough, or that I'm not worthy of having friends. I just feel like most of the choices and most of the status in my life is due to my choice personally. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening. Girl, I talked your damn ear off, and I'm so happy that you listened. So thank you so much. If you decide to subscribe to the channel, I know it's been a while since I posted on this channel, but I will post more. I promise. I have a lot of back vlogs that I want to get out. I mean, I have a ton, girls. So if you see old footage, you're like, wait a minute, you're talking about 2024. Yes, I still have videos from there. But I am going to post this on my vlog channel as well. So if you are interested in vlogs of the day in the life over 50, doing things alone and all that good stuff, I am. Those are the kind of videos you can check out my channel if you'd like. If you're here at the car vlog channel, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And there are more car vlogs to come. And if you just listened and you just needed a friend, I'm so glad that I was here to just talk to you guys and just hopefully I said something that resonated with you. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, tap the notification bell. I look forward to seeing you. If you are a new subscriber or if this is the first time you found my channel, I am so happy that you found me. So thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, smile because it's contagious, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.